Good morning. How are you all? We're on auction week.
Yay.
Yay.
That was so quick.
It was actually. Even though we sort of didn't have a August auction per se, it sort of seems to fly around. We're a bit late filming it today, but we'll get through because we're playing catch up as always. Today, to kick off auction week, I thought I'd follow up on something that Sinead had done in our social media, commemorating the 100-year anniversary of the assassination of Mr. Michael Collins. Assassinated. Well, the assassination resulted in him getting killed.
Oh, no,
the end result, he was dead.
Oh, go and shite. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
It's Monday.
But he was killed and dead.
Right, okay.
On the back of that, or not on the back of that, I mean, I don't think Cooley deliberately set out to do it, but there was the Michael Collins whiskey. And I mean, it's one of them things that people always ask us, particularly around the Louth area. A lot of people that have these bottles at home and they're going, oh, is this the one that's going to, enable me to retire? And we're sort of having to burst the bubbles and say,
yep.
No, it's not. Which is strange because I did expect there to be a bit of a kick on this year, the 100th anniversary of his death, shall we call it, Katie? Yeah. Which from an assassination which killed him, which resulted in his death. But the Michael Collins bottles, it's always been a bit of a weird one because it was called the Big Fella in commemoration of him himself. But the bottles were always a love-hate thing because barmen didn't like them because they were so tall. So between it and Galliano, they never sit on bar back, so you had to have them somewhere else. So they never really copped on. But it was particularly an American product anyhow, even though it is in 70 CLs. It is mad the variants of it. I mean, we've seen them all. So we've seen them from the 1 litre bottles, 700, 750 mil. There's a 375 mil,
There is.
and then there's the miniatures as well. In the blend, the malts didn't come in them sizes. It was just in the blend. There's the 10-year-old lightly peated Michael Collins, again ex-Cooley stock, and then you had some of them in boxes. You had some of them in without boxes. They came in so many different variants. And it really was typical of the early days of Cooley, because the early days of Cooley, if it was glass and we could stick whiskey in it, we done it.
Lamp it out.
And again, I'm not casting aspersions on Mr. John Teeling's negotiating abilities, but I'd say these bottles were probably, secondary stock that somebody got made in Italy to go liqueur into, and John found them and went, I have a job for them, and put them into that. And like they are a lovely bottle. The ribbed bottles
really
all the way around. Ribbed for your pleasure. No, it doesn't say that.
God forgive you.
That's terrible. Does it not say that? No. Ribbed for somebody's pleasure anyhow. But as I say, following on from that, the early days of Cooley was, I mean, the man has a business model and he's now doing it again.
Yeah.
But in the early days of what allowed him to create what he is was this stuff here. I mean, the own brand, the white label production of whiskey. Now, Tyrconnell obviously was their own. I'll move that down that way, actually. That should have been there. So Tyrconnell, that's an 11-year-old. Tyrconnell single malt is probably one of the most underrated Irish whiskies, I think, because its versatility has allowed so many new brands that are coming to the market now with their legacy whiskies. It's all built on the back of Tyrconnell. It's all built on the back of Tyrconnell. But as I say, in the early days, young whiskey was stuck in a bottle. Sometimes the label looked good, sometimes the label didn't look good. I mean, some of them all we're short of is leprechauns and shillelaghs and shamrocks and everything else.
There's ones out there with
there probably
whole
is.
kit and caboodle on them.
Absolutely. And we all say diddly eye as we're drinking.
Yep.
Like this MJ Delaney. So that was done for New Century House, Manchester cooperative group. But again, I actually seen a sleeve foy there earlier on. £20. Look at that. Somebody had a £20 label on that. That's Co-op. There was Marks and Spencer's had one. Sainsbury's had one. Tesco had one as well. So he produced this mass market whiskey for everybody. Stuck a bit of a bespoke Irish whiskey label on it. And special reserve. Stuck all the keywords in. Single malt, single cask, special reserve, all the... Yeah, And that's what we've got. So that's another 8-year-old single malt McGilligan. And then there was Miller's Gold as well. So Miller's, and he bought all of these brands up. He literally, all legacy brand locks, he bought them all up. He had loads of them. One of the ones that I don't think ever got that much love was the green or the single grain. And I think guys are now starting to look at grain Irish whiskey in a new light. It's no longer just, you know, the bulk component of blends anymore. People are starting to look at it as in its own right as being a hell of a stand-up whiskey. I think it's a great introduction whiskey for people. I've been at tastings with people and I've sort of said, look, try this, try the grain first, because it's the sweetness of it really softens the alcohol of whiskies.
It's lovely. It's really sweet.
The boys, Jack and Stephen, have brought that to another level with that 13-year-old Bordeaux cask finish. Yes, absolutely. Crack on. So that's one that, as I say, they come up regularly enough. So you've got the 8,
I'm
the
surprised
15,
you drank that many
and the
I'm surprised
18.
they're not super rare.
I did do my bit.
You did.
And your daddy, me and your daddy,
actually. Bring back bloody system.
We would have had a lot.
Shares and Cooley.
Yeah, we would have. All right. I did like it. When you find something you like, drink the shit out of it. Following on from that, and the reason why I put these two together, because I mean, everybody loves Middleton. Everybody loves what Middleton does. Middleton, I always thought, were a one-trick pony. They've done what they've done. They've Jameson there. It's an absolute monster for them. But the true innovation came from Bushmills. The true innovation came from Cooley. That's the guys that were pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
I mean, Middleton have a great product with Jameson, but they just sell lorry loads of the stuff. And now it's allowed them to be a bit more experimental, and they're coming with the pot still and the red breast and everything that's coming in the back of that. But back 10, 15, 20 years ago, these were the two houses. So Bushmills was the one. They done things like the Millennium casks. So there's a 12-year-old Millennium Reserve, 1975 single malt for the Millennium malts, and a 1982 Millennium malt. Again, they weren't on the ball about their labelling and their marketing and stuff like that. I mean, again, I've long maintained, why aren't those bottles worth a lot of money? I mean, a real lot of money, those Millennium malts. They were a 25-year-old single malt. If it were as anywhere else, Scotch and all that sort of stuff, get some great prices. But I've also just thrown up the range there just to show what they do, how creative they were. Their old legacy labels, I mean, that's them there. That's a German one, Charles Hobby Hossybacken. He's in Hamburg anyhow. And then the old white label, the old white Bush, again, the 12 medal one as well. So these were all great. But it hasn't stopped them. I mean, I've moved that around. That's the new 10-year-old, the new presentation. They've got the Prohibition to go with the Peaky Blinders. I mean, they've done some great tie-ups and they do some fantastic things. We were lucky enough to be with them there in the whiskey bus down there with Alex and Lauren.
I didn't get to go.
You didn't get to go.
I was very disappointed.
Don't worry. I'm sure Lauren will extend an invitation to bring you down and get you drunk in her company.
Just me and her going the raz.
You, her and Alex would be a force to be reckoned with in Belfast. I reckon there would be people running for cover. For such a small person, wow, she's a keg of dynamo. She's just brilliant. I absolutely love her. I just love her. I think she's brilliant. And Alex is everything that you'd hope that a female lead distiller or blender person in the whiskey industry should be. She's really friendly, really eloquent. She knows her products inside and out. She's passionate about it. I reckon she'd do the job for nearly nothing because she just loves it, and it just comes across when she talks. It's brilliant. And the two of them together are just, I can say it was a hell of an experience.
You had a great crack.
I did have a great crack with them, and we consumed a lot of alcohol. So that's it. As I say, they were the two that I want to kick off the week with, because I don't think I give them enough love. I don't think the world gives them enough love.
No.
I think.
Well, you do give Cooley a lot of love.
I do, because it's here. Why wouldn't I be proud of it? I should be proud of it.
It's only the tealings you like.
And that's only because they don't give me t-shirts. If they send me them t-shirts, Robert keeps on about he's getting ones custom built in man size ones or whatever. I mean, Yeah. Myself and Jarlath have that age-old debate over the 16 Bushmills and the 21 Bushmills. He thinks the 21 Bushmills is better. He hasn't a clue. The 16 is obviously better. So that's it. So that's how I'm going to finish today. Jarlath Watson's wrong. He knows nothing about whiskey. I'm right.
Okay then. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.